Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography, where old friends and fans come together to BS, argue, we never agree, let's be honest, and talk about a musical artist. This week's artist is the International Noise Conspiracy, brought to you by Tim, who I'm guessing somewhere below me,
Yeah, maybe.
or to the right of me.
Yeah.
Your main host, as always, is Jason, who gets to edit all of this lovely stuff out.
Both of us are above you, so just keep pointing to the sky.
Oh, point up, raise the roof. All right, and I'm Bill, who happened to hijack this intro after doing some weird, sorry, Jason, cut content. Go and join our Patreon if you want to see all our cut content.
It's funny.
Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment below why I am wrong about the International Noise Conspiracy. Hopefully, you've seen the albums as we've ranked them before in our prior videos. This is our current rankings. As you all can see, I obviously have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. And Tim very clearly knows what he is talking about. This week, or today, this week we're talking about International Noise Conspiracy. Today, we are talking about their fifth album, which would be The Cross of My Calling. Tim, what changed between this album and the last four?
Not much, really. So this is their second album on American Records. The second album produced by Rick Rubin. Um, you could argue that this is the last time Rick Rubin took on like a pet project. Um, I don't know. Has he taken on one since? I'm not sure.
I don't know what the fuck Rick
Um,
Rubin's doing anymore.
yeah. But otherwise, everything's the same here. The keyboards are by Cal Jacobson. So no big names on this one. It's I don't know. I mean, to answer your question, I gotta go to Storm the Gates of Beverly Hills. Uh, so now that they're working with Rick Rubin and they're hobnobbing with the jet set, um, all this shit is making them ill. And I have a CD copy of this. It was in the dustbin of history. I got a really good price on it. This was actually an album I looked for when it came out. Could not find it anywhere. I think they dropped the ball on the distribution for this album. Um, the band clearly, I mean, this is their last album. I don't even remember if they toured behind it. Um, you know, they sound lethargic on this album. They sound like they're done. Now, having said that being said, like I love this album. Assassination of Myself, that's pretty good. Like that's a strong opener. Dustbins of History, I think, is a banger. Arm Yourself is pretty good. Hiroshima Mon Amour, pretty good. That one sounds very radio friendly to me. It's a catchy song. Boredom of Safety, it's one of their slower numbers. It's a good song though. Child of God, I could maybe do without that one. I do like that they bring back the interlude. And then, much as they did with Survival Sickness, kind of setting up an A side, B side for the CD. Love the B side of this album. I Am the Dynamite, top song contender. The song rips. Washington Bullets was the single from the album. It's pretty good. Satan Made the Deal. That one's okay. That's, take it or leave it. Um, Storm the Gates of Beverly Hills, banger. Black September, banger. Uh, Cross of My Calling, title track. It's good. If this one feels a little less focused to me personally. Um, that's just me though. I think the production on here is fantastic. I think that the bangers are, all top song contenders, worthy of this discography. but this one does have a couple valleys for me. And then the bonus track on here was Execution Squad Politics. That's a banger of a song. That's a really good little punk rock number. Um, yeah, I don't know. It feels like Armed Love they were poised to really become a big band, and I think when it didn't happen, and all of the silliness with the releases and the different track listings and people like refusing to air Black Mask and all that good stuff. Like, I think it kind of weighed on him. And obviously, Dennis is a really prolific dude. At this point, he already had like two or three other bands. This is the last album, so we could say, like, yeah, after the album, Inge joined what? Was it Against Me he joined? I think.
I don't know.
Uh,
I'm not an Against Me fan.
okay, well, Inge joined one of those A bands. It might have been Against All Authority or Against Me. I
They've
think it
done
was.
some good things, but Against Me, yeah. Hot take, I
And
know.
well, and of course, Dennis is just a couple years away from the big Refused reunion. They're actually going to be touring America in 2025. Highly recommend everybody go see the Refused. It's their last tour again. Um, but Dennis and Sarah have reconciled. They're in a band called Invasion, which is kind of like gothy punk. It's fun stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like this album. I like this band a lot. I was sad when the band broke up after this. Um, I was also sad that it took me a couple years to actually find a copy of this album. Also a white whale for vinyl, as well as any singles, like any releases from this era, I'm interested in. Um, it's one I have gone to probably the most in the last like 5 years. Just just really trying to get a feel for it. And yeah, the bangers are bangers, but there's a couple valleys on here. I'll give it that.
I want to follow that up. This is the
Dude,
weirdest album to me in their discography.
okay.
Um, and I'm going to talk about that Dinosaur Jr. record behind me here at some point when we talk about this. But I'll run through my notes. But there's like I got overarching notes here. The intro, weird and funky jam intro, could have came out in the 70s. The assassination, the guitar intro sounded like the summer of '69. Uh,
Yep.
the song itself felt more poppy than previous albums. It was great guitar work, but something felt off, right? Now, mind you, I heard this before Armed Love.
Okay.
Because I was on Spotify, Armed Love wasn't there. I was like, fuck that record. I'm going to go ahead and just do my notes for Cross Calling. So I'm coming from A New Morning to the
To
Cross.
this.
To this.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep that in mind. Dustbins, what an international pop country conspiracy is this? Or what in the international pop country conspiracy is this? This could have been a Foo Fighters song. Arm Yourself, that's a good one though. Really cool, weird time signatures, funky guitars. I liked it. Hiroshima Mon Amour. It doesn't sound like, when you think International Noise Conspiracy, my preconceptions of the band going in, throw that out the window. My listening experience of the first three records, throw that out the fucking window. Doesn't sound like any of that. But it's really fucking good. The harmonica, the pounding drums, the lyrics, the vocal melody, top song contender. I loved Hiroshima.
Right on. Okay.
Boredom of Safety, we're on track 6 at this point. There's no going back to the previous albums, I'm assuming. This is just a new direction for the band. It's not bad. In fact, it's kind of good. It just doesn't really pop or stand out. I I like the A side more than the B side. Child of God, this one was fine. I really like the outro. Interlude, again, man, it happened. I get it. They're separating it, but like it just didn't have meh. I ate the
Not their
dynamite.
best interlude.
No. On the Dynamite, started out sounding like there's nothing left to lose. Foo Fighters, but a little more interesting. I hated the I am backing vocals. I felt like that was some Rick Rubin bullshit. Washington Bullets was almost folk punk. Kind of like that one too. Satan Made Me a Deal, funky Rolling Stones song. I like that one. I guess I like the second song side too. Storm of the Gates of Beverly Hills. It was okay. The lyrics were great as always. Musically, Black September just kind of happened for me. The Cross of My Calling, though. What a fucking closer. The fact that this is the closing track in the discography makes the impact hit just much harder.
Sure.
Best closing track in the discography.
Nice.
I'll say that. This album, if I feel like this album would reward listeners on repeat listens. There's a lot of cool things happening musically.
Can confirm.
Overall, the feel and the tone of the record kind of mutes a lot of it. I feel like it should have mass appeal. It should have radio play, but it's just weird enough to not make it. Lyrics, again, are the same. I just think the delivery's a little worse. I don't know. Like I could go back to this one. There was a lot of weird, interesting shit on this record that I was digging. Bill.
Hated it.
No. I guess so. Here's why I got to this one from my perspective. This album felt to me their most pop rock radio album sounding of all their five.
100%.
Which,
Yep.
based on Bill's history, means this should be my favorite album.
Which is why I disagree with you in that previous video about Armed Love. What about fucking Crossing My Calling?
Well, so here's my dilemma.
It's just weird enough to piss those people off.
The
But it
album,
doesn't have the energy of Armed Love.
well, here's the other thing. The track listing I have is also different from this one.
Oh,
The track listing I have ends with Heart of the Spectacle, and the one before that is Lost
oh
Children.
yeah, that was the other bonus track. That's right. I forgot Heart of the Spectacle. That's a great bonus track too.
And yes, it was.
You're putting your
and look
track
at
list
both-
trusting into YouTubers. I mean, you know YouTubers can't be fucking trusted.
No, but
Spectacle.
hey,
Oh, man,
when
I
it's the
forgot about
same,
that
when
song.
it's
That
when it's
song's
the
great.
same album cover, it's from the International Noise Conspiracy. I'm gonna assume it's the same damn thing.
Yep. You got
Which
the
it-
bonus track version.
I got the bonus tracks, which that's. Oh no, I got the bonus track version.
Right.
I mean, that being said, I'm actually gonna say I actually like side B more than side A. I'm gonna assume side B starts with Child of God, or does it start with the interlude?
Well,
Well,
I mean, the interlude is the break.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the break.
So Child of God would actually be on side A. Okay. Well,
Right.
that gives some more credit to side A because I actually really like Child of God. It just the opener intro, it felt like a 70s band that was trying to do some stuff on the modern scale. It really built up to what it became tempo wise and everything. But as far as the other intros, or not intros, opening tracks in the discography, felt like it was solid. It wasn't the worst, wasn't the best. Kind of find it safe middle ground in between. I mean, the other tracks going on from there, I was actually struggling listening to this band when they did this more pop rock style. Um, it because again, I'm going through like not so much nostalgia, but the whole like, oh yeah, this is Rolling Stones, oh this is Animals, oh this is the Who, oh this is all these different bands that I'm hearing coming through initially, especially those first three albums, and
Sure.
a lot persisting in that fourth album when they did some radio. It's all right, be experimental, and then we get to this fifth album. It's like, okay, but what are you trying to do? And that I
Well, and
think,
I think the problem with that question, because this band was very clearly trying to do something at the beginning, but I think after Sarah left, the plot kind of got lost.
which I can definitely see coming through here, because it doesn't have the same. I mean, it's not like there were concept albums or anything like that beforehand, having that level of connectedness.
Right.
But there were overarching themes. There were
Mhm.
like,
Well, and
you had
this one
this.
has them too. This one does have it too.
It does, but it's not as persistent, I would argue.
Well, sure. And so I'm gonna throw back at you then. Okay, so Dennis already wrote a couple broke breakup albums, including Armed Love.
Yep.
Um, and the plot's kind of gone. They're on a major label. They might actually have to listen to what Rick Rubin has to say here and there.
Yep.
I think it makes sense that it broke up after this because it was starting to get a little watered down.
I'm gonna and that as a final album,
It's a
it
great
suck.
album.
It sucks that they went out on this album.
It does suck that they went out on it, but like Jason said, I can confirm this. The more I listen to this album, the better it gets.
I mean, and I could
Uh,
definitely see that. It's just
yeah,
it for what I'm listening to it for what should be drawing me in. Because again, this compared to the other albums, this in the now late 2000s, this I would argue is the most radio pop friendly, ready, like shove it off to the masses, slap it on the ass, and have a good time.
Agreed. And that's what makes it interesting because musically, yes, you're mass appealing the music, but
well, and
lyrically,
let's also
it's
throw out this came
still
out what, 08?
there's still
Yeah,
a lot
I
of really good, interesting shit going on. This ain't a
right,
fucking verb pipe alternative rock record.
right,
Like, there's a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of interesting shit going on in this record musically.
And you know what else Rick Rubin put out in 2008?
Oh Lord,
The Metallica album that started the loudness war.
was that 2000? I thought that was before 2008.
That was 2008.
Yeah.
Death Magnetic.
Oh yeah, that's a fucked up recorded album right there.
Yeah, but he's also doing this.
And the production, yeah, the production's great on this though. Like it
Yeah,
oh,
right.
sounds.
it
Sounds
sounds.
fantastic.
This is their cleanest album by far. It's not even close
Yeah,
for cleanliness.
but
But
kind of
I
like you
don't
said.
think it helps it though. I
Yeah, I
think
was
it
just
almost
gonna
hurts
say
it.
they got to have a little dirt. You go back to like a New Morning where everything's in the red and it works.
Yeah. Like, is it like when you get to this one, it's like, okay, I've grown to actually like and appreciate the sounds, and now we're throwing out this, which I mean, I could see it being definitely more of a girl word.
It definitely is. You got to find
But
your songs.
it's, I mean, and I mean, there's top songs I'm pulling on for this thing too. Don't get me wrong. But just looking at the album as a whole, I mean, ending with Cross My Calling, yeah, Cross My Calling is a very solid closer. I'm still going to give the edge. I mean, I got to give the edge to New Morning. But it's, I mean, Jason, I'll give you the low ball here. Like as the album wise, I feel like it pales, especially compared to, I mean, that first album just for me, first album bias, call it whatever it
Hashtag
is.
first album bias.
That album was just phenomenal, start to finish. And seeing comparing where they started that first album, where they've ended their last album, for me, I feel like they regressed. And it could be
I mean,
production.
I disagree. I think clearly the band shows growth.
Yeah, musically, there's a lot
Well,
of interesting shit on this record.
I
I'm
mean,
not saying it's my number one. I'm just saying
showing growth versus um
personal taste.
Versus regressing. I mean, you're either going forward or you're going backwards.
well
And
no
yeah,
well,
business wise, you could go backwards and you could be moving
yeah,
forward while still
this
getting a little stale. You can't, those are possibilities.
that's it. And that's what I was gonna say is this one I felt like they regressed from I felt like there was a less quantity of interesting musical items on this one compared to that first album.
Okay.
I'm not saying there were no interesting stuff on this album. I'm saying the quantity has diminished some just because it felt like they were starting to recycle some of the stuff. There was some additional new stuff, don't get me wrong,
Sure. Well, I
but it
mean, there's only
felt
so much you could do with, basic rock and roll formula too.
absolutely no,
Yeah.
and I absolutely agree. Like I'm not saying that I mean they didn't regress. I mean, when you hear regression, right, you got some bands that regress to absolutely just playing fourth, fifths, and just the bass chord and saying, yeah, we
Sure.
got a
Yeah.
song.
Right.
Like, they're not
I,
doing that. They didn't
I,
regress to that, but
I get
like,
it. You're
it's
saying the band that was singing about revolution and fuck the system now sounds like summer of '69. I get where you're coming from.
I get it too. Yeah.
I
They
find that
they
I find that
are
more
in
interesting.
Beverly Hills. They hate it, but they're there.
Yeah, I find that
yeah.
more interesting. I'm so glad Tim let me guess this motherfucker.
Yeah, not knowing anybody's picks. This is an unscripted show. Like, yeah, if you're gonna let me pick, yeah, I'll give you the fun ones.
Oh, this has been a fun discography. I'm gonna say Bill has this number 5
I would be correct.
Wow. Okay.
because if you didn't, I was gonna fuck with you about the Rolling Stones. Tim is a little harder because I think Tim's gonna have a number 5 too.
That's gonna be incorrect.
Off the first album.
It's not
Well,
better than
okay.
it's not better
It's
than
gonna
New
be
Morning.
number four. Because much like the first two, I go back and forth between this one and A New Morning as to which one I like better. Um,
This one and A New Morning.
yeah,
We are all over the place on this motherfucker.
we are, which I love. And I go back and forth between those as far because I like them both, but they both have moments where I'm like, okay, that's a valley or a plateau or whatever. And then, and then when it comes to the first album, which I listened to again today, and I love start to finish, it's an amazing album. But when you put it up against a Rick Rubin produced album and something that's completely in the red but still works. Like I have to give the edge to those albums just on technicalities, regardless of, whether I like the songs more on the first album.
Well,
It's a better album. It's better fidelity wise, it's better sonically. They're using more than 8 tracks. Like it's just a better production.
this is why our show is much more interesting than most others. Because I'm going to disagree with you on that. I like
Okay.
the first album more. I like the youthful energy,
Sure. Okay.
the
Yeah.
amateurness of it, but I do think this is better than Armed Love.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
and I can see your point where if I was to listen to this album more, because I do think it gives back more on repeat. When I was done with it, I was like, I kind of want to hear it again because I felt like there was more there. Like it hasn't. It felt like it had more to give.
Well, and that's how I feel about the discography. And we'll get into the colors here in a second. But like starting with Survival Sickness, it's like, okay, banger, followed by one that's kind of questionable, followed by banger, followed by one that's kind of questionable. I was really hoping the next one would be another banger.
I
Because that is how it kind of worked for me. I'd hear one that I just couldn't get enough of, and the next one would be a grower.
we are all over the place with it. What's the highest ranked? I guess A New Morning would be the highest
Survival
ranked.
Sickness or Armed Love, it looks like, honestly.
Or
No,
New
because I
More.
tanked Armed
Yeah,
Love.
New Morning's in everybody's top three.
Yeah, I think A New Morning's overall the highest rated, and then tied between Survival and Armed because we one of us tanked one of the others.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey. Well, even the first album, the first Conspiracy, I mean, if you take out Tim's tank of that, that's again, it's top three.
Yeah.
Barely though. That's like right in the middle. Like one of us has one, and then three, and then five. First
Yeah.
Yeah, that
album
one
is the
just
most.
averages.
Yeah, it's a
Saying
wild
Armed,
card.
well, Armed's 125.
Yeah, it's a little higher than 135.
So who wants to color code theirs first?
I'll rip the band-aid off because I got.
Okay.
Oh, that's my Sabbath colors. That's all green so far. I ain't gonna do Sabbath yet. Let's see. Where's my? All right, I'm gonna start with yellow.
Wow. Okay.
I'm gonna say Armed Love is yellow. And again, I heard the Cross before it, so like after hearing going from A New Morning to a Cross and being like, what the fuck is this? Armed Love just didn't really fit in. Like it just felt too 2000s eyelinery for me.
Okay. All right.
And I'm gonna give the rest green. The rest of them are, and that's not to say Armed Love is bad. My yellow is don't start with it. I say start with the first four. Because I'll give Across. I think Across is interesting enough musically. If you want to hear a radio, like a mainstream alternative rock pop album that's actually interesting, listen to the Cross. It's poppy and earwormy enough, but yet just enough, just slightly enough where your bills are like, what's going on with this? I don't
And
get
your
it.
Tims are like, huh? I need more of that.
Yeah, like just enough where it's a little bit weird enough. I think that's interesting. I like that.
So here's my dilemma. For me, there's three different levels.
Okay.
That being said, I don't think that there should be any avoids, but I don't also think there's a Ramones Gold. If I
So
were to say it
you're in the
outright,
green yellow range here.
well, I mean, the reality is for me, I would say greens, but different shades of greens. Like
I
that.
ain't making fucking shades
No,
of
no,
green.
no, no. I say no, no. I'm not, and I'm not asking you to. I'm not asking you to.
You just got to make a line, man. Make a line.
Yeah.
Make a
So
stand.
I'll do it this way, and I'll explain it out. So the first, I'll start with yellow, and I'm doing yellow for the cross, just because I felt like this one was the outlier on the bottom end. It
I get that.
had a lot of radio elements. It I don't know if you would want that album to be your introduction to International Noise Conspiracy. I think all the other albums would be great intros. And I think if you wanted to see some of their experimental, you would then go into the cross. The next band, which would be all green, would be Survival Sickness, New Morning, and Armed. I mean, yeah, you can chuck First Conspiracy on there too. But 2 through 4 for me is the next band of green. All of these I feel like are solid albums that you should hear at some point in time. They're great musically, they're great sonically. They have their high points. Some of them have some low points, but you should listen to them at some point in time. And I'm going to put the First Conspiracy at additionally a green that Jason already did. So I feel like this one, it is an echelon above the rest. I don't think it's quite deserving of that Ramones Gold level, though. Like, it's a great album. Don't get me wrong. I think it's above. I don't think there's a bad song on it, but I can see where it might not be for some people. I can see where it has some pitfalls. Given the fact I ranked it the highest, I see, some potential, I don't want to say issues, but negatives against it comparatively to the other albums. And, that's why I'm additionally giving it green. But again, for me, that album at that number one spot is, in my mind, like kind of in that S2A tier, like that AS tier.
The ASS tier.
No, no, just one S.
All right. So basically, Bill, your shit's all green and you got a yellow. Tim, what about you?
Well, I mean, I'm starting with green. And going into this, I was thinking my top two would be Ramones Gold. I personally would give those two albums Ramones Gold. Now, having said that, both of you took one of them and put it towards the bottom. So if you guys aren't cool with that, I'm cool with green.
I'll tell
But
you
for me,
this
they're
now.
Ramones Gold.
I'll tell you this now. When we do Green Day, I don't give a fuck what y'all's ranks are. What I say is gold for me, it's gonna be gold, whether y'all like it or not.
Well, with that in mind, Survival Sickness and Armed Love are gold for me.
Okay. I just want
You will
to.
see them again in the grinder for the decade.
I understand. And actually, I definitely understand. I get both of those.
What year was the New Morning?
02?
Oh one.
Oh,
I
wow.
could
01. 01.
that could get some votes in the grinder for me. Survival
Okay.
Sickness will get some it could get some votes. There's probably going to be a lot of bullshit in the 2000s meat grinder.
What year did that come out?
Survival?
No, no,
2000.
I'm looking up something else.
Oh, I already know what's winning 2000 for me. I already know what number one is. This is a public service announcement. This is only a test.
I already know what Tim's number one for 2000 is.
What was
Do ya?
Pat? What was
It's
Patton
not
doing?
this one.
What was Patton doing in 2000?
It wasn't. Well, if Pat was doing something else, then
It
apparently
wasn't
that's what it would
Bungle.
be.
It wasn't
Well, I
Bungle.
know what else came out in 2000, which would actually probably make my top 10 list, and probably I would put in the grinder.
What?
Which you're talking rated R.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I
Rated
mean,
R is better. I'd give Rated R over Survival.
two albums that changed my life within a couple weeks of each other. It's hard for me to pick.
So Tim's gonna put both of them in the grinder and figure it out later.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's right. And then a Patton pick. I don't think Patton did anything in 2000, but
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll get to the 2000s.
we'll get there.
Go check out our 1990s
We-
album of the decade.
Yeah, we got to
there.
finish the 90s up first.
Yes, we do.
Stick around. We got top
Distracting.
songs coming up next. We got Is It Art, hopefully. We got Sabbath Sunday. Every Sunday we do a Sabbath album. Overall, I enjoyed this. I went into this discography thinking something about this band and coming out with a completely different expectation, or a different, like, what the fuck did I just listen to? Like, they exceeded expectations. They subverted expectations.
Which fits perfectly.
I mean, I think it was Colquitt say he didn't like this band. I don't know what Colquitt's talking about. Like this, there's nothing bad here. Even Armed Love, there's nothing like, oh God, just don't listen to this bullshit. Like, it's still listenable. It's still an enjoyable record. I wouldn't say start with it. I'd say start with A New Morning, but that's just my rankings. But the guy who actually listens to the band said start with Armed Love. He put that bitch on Ramones
I
Gold.
can't get enough of it. Oh, I mean, start with. See, I don't think there's a bad starting point here.
If you started with the last one, that'd be pretty.
Then everything's better after that, you know?
I'll say, I said that's why, like, for me, like, yeah, if you start with any of the first four, you're set. You start with the first album, you'll figure it out from there.
And I kind of get your rankings, and I understand why Across would be yellow, because it is a different record compared to the first four, 100%.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's an interesting, good, different.
Yeah.
Like it's weird.
Well, and I think that, I mean, there's so many things I like about this band, but that's absolutely one of them. Even with such a short discography, yeah, the growth is wild, and you get all kinds of different flavors.
We all ended up with a different number one.
Yeah, and you know, one flavor might not be your favorite, but it's still a good flavor.
Yeah, it's a very diverse. Yeah, very fun discography. If you'd like to pick a band, if you guys like, if you know you're out there watching this, you're like, why the fuck are you covering some bullshit like the International Noise Conspiracy when you could be covering Tonic? Sign up for our Patreon and fucking come on the show. Come on the show and say, you know, subscribe to the Patreon, say you guys should do Tonic, and you can come in here and rank the albums with us, and you know, we'll go from there.
I might have to veto the Finger 11.
That's a Bill pick. You know that's coming.
No, Finger 11 would be. Fuck, I'd say Papa Roach before Finger 11, if I'm being honest.
I don't know if I can make that call. That's like, what smells worse, the dog's pile in the backyard or the cat's litter box?
That's the litter box, let's be clear. But anyways,
Yeah, is that Papa Roach in the litter box? Could be.
that's Finger 11 in the litter box, but that's a. Hey, who's headlining with Rise Against Willingly?
I don't even want to talk about that. Rise
The
Against has let
fucking
me down.
Rise of the Roach.
Rise Against has let me down. That is not the same band that I grew up with on Fat Records. They have become.
All right, we got Tim Sealing on here.
I got it.
Rise Against, you let me down, Tim. You let me down. Not our
God.
Tim, but the other Tim.
I almost got that tickets to that one, but that's a whole other discussion.
Stick around for top
gone.
songs. Be safe. Make good decisions.
And if you're going to base your entire career off an Iron Maiden riff, and then you go a little woo, and then a little whoop, 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 and then it's all, you know, and then you're ready to go again.